Toy Spot. We are having a look at the NECA Toys Alien vs. Predator, the Warrior Alien. For ages 17 and up, this comes to us from the folks over at NECA Toys. You can go to www.necaonline.com to not only check out the AVP line that they're releasing, but certainly the slew of other movie properties as well. The bottom of the package features the Warrior Alien down below, or just a standard Xenomorph alien. The back of the package, however, has a read-up of on a remote island off of Antarctica, an expedition led by billionaire industrialist Charles Wayland hopes to make the archaeological find of the century, proof of a civilization that predates written history. The thrill of discovering an ancient temple buried deep beneath the ice quickly turns to horror as the team becomes the bait in a battle between two deadly alien species, and no matter who wins, they lose. There's also down below the grid alien available as well, and also the prototype translucent Xenomorph as well. Spot's going to take a break and get this opened up. When we come back, though, we're going to get a better look at the Alien vs. Predator Warrior Alien. There's more heading your way, guys. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. At first glance, looking at the Xenomorph, you probably think to yourself, it's just simply a re-release of Xenomorphs we've seen before. There's really nothing that this one brings to the table. And it's actually funny enough that when you start comparing it to other Xenomorphs that NECA has released, well, the AVP, or for that matter, really Xenomorphs, do vary. It's not just simply a case of reusing the mold. Just before we do a comparison, so I can show you kind of side by side how this Xenomorph varies from another release, let's have a look at the figure. Now, the figure itself does come across as a little more lankier of an interpretation of the Xenomorph to some of the stuff that we've seen before. More predominantly, or I guess the more predominant design change is, I find, in the head. The head has, first of all, the one thing that you probably see, it doesn't have the back protruding center spike that is on a lot of alien figures. This one completely is omitted, not simply by NECA's decision, but omitted by that AVP. The Xenomorphs simply just don't have them. The neck also is something I find does change a lot too. The neck being a much more arched, or I guess triangular style of neck that doesn't curve in. The dome of the head also is a little bit shorter. It seems like it's a sleeker looking design for the Xenomorph. The coloring here is more rooted in grays. There's a little bit of brown, but it conveys more the grays and the blacks that I like more than the browns, the almost yellows and stuff like that, and the blues that we've seen before. A nice stark black alien, that's right up my alley. The dome also is something that varies a lot too. Either the dome is see-through, where you can see the skull of the Xenomorph underneath, or sometimes you might see a more predominant crown underneath too. Like the crown, the skeletal crown underneath the dome is a little more simplistic. And I also find that the dome is, not only is it frosted, but it's frosted in closer to it being a black gradient rather than being like a smoke color. You can really see how the frosted or the smoke color gets darker as it gets closer to the jaw, the neck area of the Xenomorph, and then gets progressively clearer as it gets to the top, showing this really nice sculpt of this spinal crown underneath the dome, or the skeletal crown underneath the dome. The tubes also on the back are something that's a little more slender than other alien figure designs. Like proportionately, he does really have a much skinnier presentation. Now, as for a comparison, so yeah, guys, you guys can see exactly what I'm talking about. Let's find a figure that we just recently reviewed, and then you can kind of start seeing right away that NECA does do not simply just a re-release, just a paint swap, but they do brand new sculpts on these things. So having a look, there is the AVP Xenomorph, and if I can just get him to hold on there. There he is compared next to the Isolation Xenomorph. You can see what I mean, like the neck is a much broader neck extending out from the jaw. It's almost more of a triangular neck, broad at the top, narrower at the bottom, whereas the, I guess if you want to look at it, the more traditional alien, the alien's got a shorter neck. It's not as predominant, but you, as a trade-off, get a much longer dome. The tubes are also extending out from the back a little bit different. The Xenomorph here from AVP, much slender, as Spot already mentioned. And even though I've taken the back spike off, you can see the hole on the back of the isolation alien as to where that additional appendage would be sticking out. Now the thighs are a little broader on the AVP alien versus that of the isolation alien. The tail is also something I was actually surprised to find too. If you look at the isolation tail, it's a much narrower, almost more reptilian tail, whereas this one has a broader end and it extends out to almost something like a blade at the end of the tail. The feet also slightly vary. These little caps around the thigh area stick further out, whereas the Xenomorph here from isolation is a much smaller, thinner leg. So that's probably one of the better comparisons I can make to it. Goes to show again how much sculpt NECA puts in these pieces. Not always a re-release, and I think that's sometimes a misconception for especially alien figures. They do come across sometimes as re-releases, but couldn't be further from the truth. As for his mouth, the mouth on this one does open and close, which I think was one of the nitpicks I had with the isolation alien, was I don't think his mouth could open and close. His jaw could come out, as with this one, the jaw can come out. It's just a little difficult to get your finger in there. Try our best to actually get the jaw out. It's a little stuck, I'm afraid. But the jaw does come out, just not the easiest, I'm afraid. But generally for displaying aliens, I like to display them more so with the mouths closed. I just think it looks a more sinister, eerie looking way to present them versus having the secondary jaw coming out. Okay, for your posability on this guy, you can probably see that his one leg is just a little on the loose side. This leg's not so bad. This leg just a little bit loose. Head, if we start from the top here, the head is on a ball joint. Now it's ball jointed from the base of the neck rather than up here. It has a ball joint torso. I say he, I'm just going to probably say he for the rest of this video. Hinged shoulders, rotate all the way around. Hinged elbows, rotation at the forearm, rotation and hinge in the hand. As you probably would expect, the tail is bendable, a nice wire frame on the tail. Ball hinge joints on the top of the thigh areas. There is a double hinge knee. Ball joint foot. Now, interestingly enough, he also has a hinge on the toe. I don't recall that on many alien releases where there was a hinge on a secondary, on the two-toe bend there, as you can see. So that allows the legs to be kind of arched more back if you want to have it displayed like that. There's a couple of more options there that you wouldn't normally have had if this wasn't, if this wasn't posable. I'm trying to think actually what my favorite alien design is. Funny enough, it's not Aliens. I did not like the design of the Aliens alien. My favorite probably still is, well, I've always liked the black domed Xenomorph or the more frosted domed Xenomorph as opposed to a no dome. Alien is probably one of my favorites. I might even say AVP might be my favorite design of the Xenomorph. It does vary. I mean, this one also is almost I think a continuation over from Resurrection, which started giving us this type of neck design on the Xenomorph. It's a look, though, that I've started growing fond of, and again, I might even say AVP is my favorite alien design. Today's Toy Spot, we were having a look at the NECA toys, AVP, the Xenomorph, or Alien Warrior. Stay tuned, guys. Spot's going to have the reviews of the other two alien figures still right around the corner. Stay tuned for those. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.